Hey, what's going on everybody? It's etaprime back here again. Today we're going to be taking a look at the all-new Aya Neo Next. Now I've been super excited about this device and I've had my eye on it for the last couple weeks. They were initially supposed to announce it in December, but they pushed it to January. And the official release will be in February, but I was lucky enough to receive a prototype unit so we could take a look at the performance on this thing. And basically what we have here is the first handheld gaming PC powered by a Zen 3 Ryzen 5800U. So looks like I need to put these gloves on for the next part. And yeah, they definitely went all out with the packaging. We've got an acrylic top here. And when it comes to the Aya Neo Next, this isn't just an upgraded CPU and their old case design. This is a totally redesigned gaming handheld. I've seen some pictures of it and yeah, it looks just as good as I thought it would. You know, when it comes to their promotional material over on the website, sometimes these companies make them look, a lot better than they do in real life, but this thing looks absolutely amazing. They've totally redesigned the console itself. It's got a nice ergonomic feel to it, easier to hold on to. We've still got a 7-inch IPS display here, and I think that's kind of the perfect size for a handheld like this. And now, with the new Aya Neo Next, the triggers and the analog sticks are actually using Hall sensors. This is the first handheld to utilize Hall sensors for those components. So with a Hall sensor, we don't have to worry about any kind of analog stick drift or anything like that. And we're going to have much more control with the analog sticks and the triggers. Plus, they've added modular design to the analog sticks so we can actually customize these to our liking. Whatever kind of caps you like to use on these, you can always replace them. It's super easy to do. So inside of the box, we've got our USB charging cable, a 60-watt charger, some USB Type-C to full-size adapters because we only have USB Type-C on this unit. Really loving the layout. Over on the left-hand side, we have our D-pad, Start Select, an analog stick. Over on the right-hand side, A, B, X, Y, our other analog stick, and two little action buttons here, and we'll get into that in just a second. With the Next, they've also added a fingerprint sensor, something we haven't seen on the Aya Neo yet. We've also got our volume control up top, a 3.5mm headphone jack, USB Type-C, some ventilation for that 5800U, and as you can see, we've got our shoulder buttons and triggers back here. And like I mentioned, the triggers are using Hall sensors in this version. Moving around to the bottom, we've got dual stereo speakers and another USB Type-C port. So initially, just pulling this out of the box and messing around with the triggers and the analog sticks, they feel absolutely amazing. You can tell that something different is going on here. Super smooth, and I expect this to be very, very accurate. So when it comes to the specs of the Aya Neo Next, for the CPU, we have the Zen 3 AMD Ryzen 5800U. 8 cores, 16 threads, with a base clock of 2 GHz and a boost up to 4.4. Built-in Radeon 8 graphics at 2000 MHz, 16 GB of LPDDR4X running at 4266 MHz. They do plan on offering a 32 GB version of this also. It's got a 2 TB M.2 SSD, a 7-inch IPS 1280x800 display. This is running Windows 10, but you can always upgrade to Windows 11. And it's packing a 47 watt-hour battery with 60-watt quick charging capabilities. It does come with a 60-watt charger in the box. They're claiming 2 to 6 hours, and this really depends on what you're doing on the unit and what the TDP of this 5800U is set at. Alright, so when it comes to these handhelds, TDP is going to play a big part in battery life and overall performance. Luckily, we have an easy way to swap on the fly from 5 watts up to 20 watts using Aya Space. Now this is new software that actually works on all of the Aya devices. And it comes in really handy. I mean, there's lots of little shortcuts here and all we have to do is press a button to get it to come up. Along with the quick settings menu, with Aya Space they've also integrated a game launcher. Now for me, I would definitely want to run this at 20 watts or even higher, and if you want to go higher on the TDP to get the best performance out of this unit, you can use a third-party application like APU Tuning Utility. It does work out pretty well, and I'd say 30 watts on the 5800U is really the sweet spot for the best performance. Okay, so before we jump into benchmarks and some more PC game testing, I just wanted to show one off here. This is Forza Horizon 5. We're at 1280x800 because that's the built-in screen resolution. And real quick, I'll give you a look at these triggers in action. They are very, very accurate, and it works out really well for these racing games. So if you just want to press it a little bit, give it a little bit of gas, and you can go all the way. It's up to you. But this is really where these little triggers come in handy, and these Hall sensors are working amazingly. But the way I have Forza set up right now, we got a medium, low mix, 1280x800, and I'm getting an amazing frame rate. Now with these handhelds, your best bet is to turn VSync on with each game just to try to keep it at 60, but with the games that I'm going to be running in this video, I will have VSync off just to see how high we can go. With VSync on, that CPU and GPU won't be working as hard. It'll definitely keep the heat down and power draw, so you'll get better battery life out of it with VSync on. So I'm really excited to test out some more games, but the first thing I wanted to show off were a few benchmarks. We're at 28 watts right here with Geekbench 5, 1391 on the single, multi 7520, looking really good on the single and the multi. I also went through and ran 3D Mark Night Raid. We got a total score of 15,142, and the last one I ran was Firestrike with a 3,928. And remember, this is at 28 watts. At 35 watts, you might get a better score out of it, but it is going to drain that battery really, really quickly. Alright, so now it's time to move over to some more PC gaming. I got a few games to test here, and then we'll move over to a little bit of emulation, but keep in mind I will have a full emulation video because there's just so much that I want to test on this unit. So we're running Halo Infinite at 30 watts, and I'm pretty sure we could get some more out of it if I went up to 40, but then, like I mentioned, the battery's just really going to suffer. 30 watts here, Halo Infinite, low settings. We're getting an average of 35 FPS, and I've tested this in the past on higher end Ryzen APUs. Unfortunately, it just doesn't perform well on these integrated graphics. Definitely had to throw some Fallout 4 in here, and I'm at medium settings. I think we could go with a medium-high mix here. We're at a constant 60. I did see it dip down one time, but overall, this is definitely playable on the Aya Neo Next. I've had really good luck with GTA5 on this device. We're at normal settings, and I'm getting an average of 81 FPS. Here's Doom Eternal, low settings with dynamic resolution scale on. I got an average of 71 FPS, and when it comes to these APUs in this game here, you really do want to run that dynamic resolution scale. It definitely helps out, and if you did want to run this at 30, you could do medium settings, no problem at all, but it just feels so much better running at 60 or over 60. I had to throw at least one fighting game in here. Mortal Kombat 11 ran much better than I thought it would. I've got a low-medium mix going, obviously 1280 by 800. And even though we're at a medium-low mix, mostly low, it still looks great on this IPS display. It's playing just fine on this device. Checking out The Witcher 3, I was actually hoping for a little better performance out of this. We're at low settings, and I only averaged 51 FPS out of this game here.
Come on now.
Now it's time to check out a little bit of emulation, and like I mentioned, I will have a full video coming up, so keep an eye on the channel. I'm going to be testing out a ton of different systems, but here we have PS2 using PC-SX2, DirectX 11 pack in, Ratchet & Clank going commando, running at full speed. I get a good feeling that even over HDMI or USB Type-C to some type of display out, we could do around 1440p with PS2 on this unit. Wii U performance is looking pretty good, using Cemu with that Vulkan back end, and when it comes to a game like Breath of the Wild, there's a chance we might be able to get 60 out of it, but I'd say 30 is definitely going to be the way to go with a harder to emulate game. But the easier to run stuff is going to run at 60 just fine. And finally, PS3 using RPCS3 and that Vulkan back end. Here's Tekken 6, just a quick look at it, running at 60, looking really good, but it's not the hardest one to emulate. There are some games that just aren't going to run well on this, like God of War 2 is definitely not going to run at full speed on this. But when it comes to games like Skate 3, I got a good feeling we'll be able to get 60 out of it at 30 watts. So I still got some more testing to do on this unit, but you know, when it comes to my first impressions, I love what they've done with the new Aya Neo Next. We've got that 5800U, which does give us a nice little uplift in CPU performance over the old 4000 series. And we do have a higher base clock on that GPU. This one's going up to 2000. Analog sticks on this are great. I love the triggers. Those Hall sensors really do help out. And in the long run, it's just going to be much better. We don't have to worry about drift or anything like that. When it comes to performance, I think this is one of the best performing handhelds that I've tested on the channel so far, at least an x86 handheld. And rightfully so. We've got that Zen 3 5800U up to 30 watts. We can actually go a bit higher. I did test this at 45. Gets a little hot and that battery's not going to last long, but we do get better performance out of it. So if you're interested in seeing something like that in the next video, just let me know in the comments below. But that's going to wrap it up at my first look video. Keep an eye out on the channel because the full emulation video will be coming up soon. We're going to test out some more PS2, some PSP, some more Wii U games, PS3, Xbox, Xbox 360, and even some 3DS. And if you got a PC game you want to see running on the Aya Neo Next, just let me know what it is in the comments below. And if you want a certain wattage, just throw that in there too. If you're interested in learning more about the Aya Neo Next, I will leave a link to the website in the description, but that's going to wrap it up for this one. And like always, thanks for watching.